And with that, Jared, do you want to take over and jump into our first talk?
Sure. Well, thanks very much. I appreciate talking to everyone here today. It's a first, I think, connecting some faces to names, but I definitely recognize or have chatted with people on email before. Yeah, my name's Jared. I work with Margo Supplies. We're based out of Canada, as well as the US. And I've got Jackson here as well, and he's the head of our R&D. So I wanted to share with you folks some of the work that some people may be familiar with, which is our version of a wildlife tracking collar. And just give me 3 seconds to see if I can turn on the on our PowerPoint. Here we go. And Jackson's going to drive for me as well. Yeah, so we started this project 4 years ago, and it was to reimagine what a satellite tracking collar may look like. You can see the collar is just on the left-hand side right here. That's one of our most recent units. And one of the starting points for us was a commitment to trying a single housing design. So we don't have a separate battery compartment and transmitter. We're using it all packaged in that one single device there. The other part too that you'll notice is that's a solar panel. So we're harvesting quite a bit of solar, and that's the main power source for the collar. We've done a lot of research as well on an omnidirectional antenna. And all these things combined allows us to try and get to a lower weight on the collar. And what we've seen is a collar that weighs about 250 grams total and capable of collecting up to 1 fix per hour. So what have we done? We started in 2019 with some urban Columbia black-tailed deer. We've had 40-ish wildlife deployments since then. They've been again on Columbia black-tailed deer, elk. This black bear here, you can see that device right there. This is a yearling orphan cub that was released in the eastern U.S. with one of the eastern U.S. game agencies, and so that's our first wild carnivore model testing. And throughout the process, we've had them tested in coastal environments, kind of mixed and dense canopy forests, alpine environments as well. And throughout these deployments, we're really looking at what's our real world solar charging capacity, what kind of reception quality can we get from these collars. Again, you'll notice here, it's hanging below the neck. We're not trying to have the collar sit on top of the neck. The durability of the device and the long-term longevity of it. So what do we find out? The first one we found out is that solar is a very good option for mammal collars, especially diurnal ungulates in particular, but we think there's applications beyond that too. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see some data. This is just a quick snapshot. This is just from a couple days ago on a actively deployed collar we have on an elk, and this is in the Rocky Mountains. So a couple things you'll see that's pretty neat here. We're getting pretty good accuracy on the GPS positions. Our next versions have an updated GPS chip, so we're seeing in our shop testing improvements beyond that as well. The other cool part I want to draw your attention to is the battery. I know this is only a day or 2.5 days roughly, but if you look here, we're seeing pretty much that's the actual battery millivolts on the collar itself, and that's fully charged. So for this elk, this one's actually collecting it at 1 fix per 2 hours. We have another one in the same trial doing it 1 fix per 1 hour. And our solar charging kept up with draw from January until now. We still have a fully charged battery. And you can see, of course, that's at night. We're not getting solar charge. That's during the day. We're getting really good solar. So yeah, it is possible, especially on ungulates. We're going to continue expanding that. But the solar charging is a great option. The other thing you'll notice here is the reception. We have been doing a totally different kind of antenna, and we've custom tuned that antenna to our collar. Basically, we're trying to minimize data loss. And if you look here on this last column, it says SBD attempts. And so a bunch of 1s, 2s. That's the amount of tries our collar took to send the data out through the Iridium network. And largely what we've seen on these antennas is really fantastic numbers. On one elk in northern Alberta, I think our average attempt was 1.4 times. So we're pretty much getting data out almost immediately. The other takeaways is by starting with a single housing, we're reducing the upfront weight of the collar. And so we're just seeing lower wear, generally speaking. The more collar weighs, the more strain there is. It's kind of exponential. You have a heavier collar, you need a heavier bolt to attach that collar to a heavier belting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the big open questions is longevity on the collar. So that's kind of our big focus right now. How long can they last? The big thing though is that we've learned is thinking about longevity with a solar panel collar is a little different than traditional collars. With a traditional primary cell, you're working from a fixed total battery capacity and you keep going until it's empty, and that's the life of the collar. What we're seeing with the collar with onboard power is that the life of the collar is controlled by the lifespan of the components, not by a fixed battery power. So yeah, next step for us, we're really thrilled with our results on ungulates. We want to release these in larger numbers. In terms of ongoing research beyond longevity on the features, our next steps are remote drop-offs as well as ground-based radio tracking. We're beginning our drop-off testing on captive animals this summer, and ideally some wildlife deployments with drop-offs this fall. And we're an early manufacturer on collars. And so what we've done to make our collars a little easier for researchers to consider for your projects is we're going through a model of zero or minimal upfront hardware costs and a monthly data fee. The advantage of this is that researchers have the confidence that they're not getting stuck with a huge upfront cost for a collar and then results that are disappointing to them. We think it's a more honest way. You know, we charge you for the months that your collar does its job. In our beta test, we're charging $50 per month, but we're hopeful as we release this into a more formal open project that we'll be able to continue that. And then finally, our big takeaway is we would like more data. So please, if you have feedback, ideas, possibilities for deployments, either in our beta release on ungulates or some other environments that we haven't yet tested, we're interested. So yeah, please get a hold of us. That's kind of the information. I was hoping that we'd have a chance to have a couple quick questions if I've left us enough time.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Jared. That was a great call to action to the community. And one of the questions I was going to follow up with first is, are there any particular systems that you're keen to test out and that you haven't been able to yet?
Not at the moment, to be honest. Well, we're kind of in a pause waiting for hardware. The next big one for us to test in wildlife will be drop-off. But again, that's captive testing, which we've already got organized this summer. We're working on carnivores kind of right now in a more controlled release. We think we may have got a puma last night, actually, with some researchers in California. We're just waiting for the email today to see if it actually is on a puma or if they were just walking around. But yeah, we're hopeful on that. Those are probably the main big like individual tests. Beyond that, it's longevity again. And so just more environments in general, more environments, more animals in general, and how they perform in those situations.
Okay, cool. Robin, do you want to jump in with your question?
I just wanted to ask where the solar panel is located, because on the elk, you didn't see anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It was on the other side of the, you could just see the belting on that side. The solar panel's located right on the actual main device housing. So the main device housing has a rechargeable battery, the solar panel, as well as all the hardware, antenna, and circuit board. But it's just on the face of that.
But then it's under the neck of the ungulate?
Exactly. Yes, it is. And that was always our design intention. We're not intending to have it sit on the top of the animal. We get this question a lot. What we've seen with ungulates is it doesn't have to be on the top. Number one, here, I've got it here, actually. If you look here, that you can see this is both the lid, and the lid has the embedded solar panel on it. So yeah, the idea is that we're using a panel that's tuned to more ambient light. We're not trying to harvest direct sunlight. And we're seeing pretty low power options. So yeah, it's been working really well. Again, on diurnal ungulates, it's working excellently. We've just started black bear testing, and it's going to be an expansion on environments and animal behavior from there.
Interesting.
Cool.
Thanks.
We have a bunch of questions in the chat. Tycho, you want to jump in and ask yours?
Sure. Hi, Tycho Speaker from Santa Cruz. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to replace the battery with a superconductor. I'm sorry, a supercapacitor, just because you could maybe get some weight gain for the power density. Do you know? Have you thought about that?
We have looked at some of that technology. What we've seen in the past probably 10, 20 years, with the advent of electric cars and all that is that a lot of money has been put into our chargeable batteries. If you do the math comparing like a typical 18650 cell right now compared to a primary lithium or a supercapacitor, those 18650s are the best power density per dollar right now. So that's kind of what we've gone with.
Per
and that
weight
gives us
as well?
2 years of lifetime.
I was wondering
And then
about the
solar
weight.
Sorry.
Because I was thinking that the supercapacitor might be lighter, and you said that that had a big impact. Not so much on, yeah, batteries are great, no problem with
Right.
batteries. But
Yeah, you're right. A supercapacitor would definitely reduce the weight significantly, but for what we're trying to go for, we don't think the power density is quite there.
The other
Sure,
thing I'd
makes
mention
sense.
too, that we're doing an iridium collar as well. And we should bear in mind that iridium, of course, is controlled, the core technology and the iridium side of it is controlled by iridium. The modem itself is, I think, 30 something grams. So at some point, like an iridium collar is never going to be that light. I think there's a lot of
Right.
other opportunities for lighter outbound transmitters and other technology, and that's something we want to keep working with. But bear that in mind that I think iridium is always going to be a medium collar plus.
What is
Thank
interesting, Tycho, is there is some very latest stuff on the market that's a hybrid supercap primary cell or lithium cell. We do have some of those on my desk right now, and we are kind of
Cool.
looking at that. They kind of give you the advantages of both. So we are kind of looking at
Love
that
it.
as well.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, we have lots more questions. I was curious about cost too, but maybe we can come back to that later. I think we should move on. So thank you both so much.